Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful spring-like weekend. I got some fun stuff to talk about today. So first subject is what future clients really want. So here's a question. This is the main thing here is future clients, because are clients the same as they were 20 years ago? Are is your clients the same as they were 20 years ago? I'll tell you, most of my clients, or a lot of my clients 20 years ago, were the greatest generation. And the greatest generation, are they the same as boomers? No. And are boomers the same as Gen Xers and millennials and whatever? No. So if you want to continue to grow your business, you're going to have to figure out, what do clients not only want now, but what do they want in the future? So Hearts and Wallets, part of NerdWallet, Hearts and Wallets did a survey of people with more than $1 million. And in today's world, is it a lot easier to find people with $1 million than it was 20 years ago as well? I mean, there are a lot more people around right now with $1 million than 20. Yeah, there certainly is. So this is no longer, when you get $1 million client, I mean, you're happy, but you're like, holy crap, I landed a whale. No, $1 million is a great client. It's an affluent client, but it's certainly not a whale. But if we want to build the practice, it wouldn't be a bad group of people to build it with, right? So what do you think most people with $1 million or more want? Well, the first thing is they said most want flat fees instead of AUM fees. So most want flat fees instead of AUM fees. And how many advisors out there are offering flat fees? Virtually what? None. But I'm not telling you to do this, but I'm saying for those that offer flat fees, do they have a great opportunity then? Yeah, they do. 33% don't even know what they're paying in fees. So most clients want flat fees instead of AUM fees. 33% do not know what they're paying in fees. And 20% believe they're getting advice for free. So that means, what percentage of people have no clue the fees they're paying? What percentage of people have no clue what fees they're paying? 50% plus, yes, 50% plus. Now here's the thing. Here's what I would say. Of the 50% who say they know how much fees they're paying, do you want to guess how many of them actually know how much fees are paying? Well, here's a good question. For those of you that do 21-point checklist, how many clients, when you show them the fees are paying, say, oh yeah, I knew that? How many clients knew of all the 21-point? None. That's right, zero. I mean, I've and Missy, the 60,000, and again, we quit even archiving tapes in 2018. So that's 5 years ago. 60,000 tapes. How many did we ever hear where a client said, yes, I know, or that's about what I thought I was paying in fees out of 60,000 tapes?
No, they don't have a clue.
Not one. Not one. So guys, if people with $1 million or more want flat fees instead of AUMs, 50% admittedly don't know, or 33% admittedly don't know what they're paying. 20% think they're getting it for free, and the other 50% have no clue what they're paying. Is there an opportunity there, guys? Is there an opportunity if you are good at the 21-point checklist? I love the smell of opportunity in the morning. So guys, if you want bigger clients, what should you be talking about? Fees. Now, can you just jump right into fees? When I was making 50 grand a year, I was talking about fees. First thing I would do is go and show, look at all the fees you're paying. Did you know you're paying those fees? And then people would say, well, yeah, no, that's about what I thought. Why was the knee-jerk reaction when I showed them the fees? If the first thing I talked to them about was fees, why was their knee-jerk reaction, yeah, that's about what I thought I was paying? They didn't know what they were paying, but their knee-jerk reaction was to tell me they thought that's what they're paying. Why, when I went, they were defending themselves. That's right. They were defending themselves. Not their advisor. They were defending themselves. They did not want to look stupid. So that's one of the reasons I had to start developing the 21-point checklist, where I would cover during the first 40 minutes non-financial things that I don't get compensated for, things that at the beginning, such as survivor's guides, where they were like, I'm not going to, oh, that's interesting. Nobody was going to leave their advisor because their advisor did not give them a survivor's guide. But they started to, when they woke up in the morning, they loved their guy. He was on a pedestal. When we covered the survivor's guide, they're like, well, my guy's still pretty good, but I guess he could be doing better. They're not going to leave for that. But see, it started to change the mentality of he's perfect. He's a knight in shining armor. He's on a pedestal to, no, he could do something better. And that allowed us then to go to the next thing with powers of attorney, where they say, well, no, wait, there's things that he's missing. And we go to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So by 40 minutes in, they're thinking, my guy is not doing what he's supposed to. He is not a great advisor. He is a salesman. Then when they believe that, that's when they turn. So when I showed them the fees, did they defend themselves or did they attack their advisor? By spending 40 minutes talking about the non-financial, did they defend themselves by having a knee-jerk reaction, say, no, I thought I was paying that much? Or did they say that SOB that salesman didn't tell me about these fees? See, that by spending that 40 minutes of non-financial, it allowed them to then, instead of blaming themselves, to blame their advisor. Does that make sense? So you guys, you have an opportunity. You have a huge opportunity using the 20-point checklist to leverage this. Median all-in AUM fees for financial advisors. Now, this is 2017, and I couldn't find more current validated fees. But do you think these have changed much in the past 5 years? Where if they have less than two, here's the difference. The blue is what the advisors are charging. The orange are those other fees, internal fees, expense fees that the actual fund or manager or whatever is charging. So first of all, let's talk about the blue fees. Has this really changed that much? With advisors charge, if they have less than 2%, $250, it's 1%. Less than $1 million, it's about 1%. Has that changed much in the past 5 years? Yes or no? Yay or nay? Yeah, no, it has not changed much. 0.85, 0.75 or 2 to 3, 0.65 or 3 to 5. So these are still, within. Are these wildly different or pretty darn similar? And here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. What does the market average? And again, this depends on what period of time you're looking at. But between what and what does the stock market generally average? Between what and what does the stock market generally average? What percentage? Mark says 6.85. Yeah, I'd go. Yeah, it's about between 7 to 10%, depending on what where you go. So yeah, back to 1954, 6.85. Yeah, so between 7 to 10 is what we. But either any way we look at it, how much are they giving away when they give 1%? When an advisor charges 1%, are they only charging 1%, or are they giving away way more than that when they pay their advisor 1%? I mean, if it's 7%, how much are they giving away? Instead of making 7, they make 6. Or in this case, instead of making 7, they make 5. How much have they given away? No. See, you're still saying 2%. No, guys. Who's got a calculator? Divide 1 by 7. What percent? That's right. 10 to 15%, Andre, they're giving away. 10 to 15% of the return they're giving away. Do you get what I'm saying here? Because instead of making 8%, they only make 7%. That's not a 1% difference. That's what? That's 1/8 difference. Whatever 1/8 is, they gave that away. They gave 1/8 of the return to the advisor. Now that's okay if what? Now luckily, if you follow the 5Q mentality of 50-50 at least, or 40-60 or 30-70, what happens to the fee, guys? What happens to that annual fee? With 50-50, let's make it easy. If you have 50% in FIAs, 50% in AUM, what happens to those fees? That's right, you cut them in half. You cut them in half. So guys, people with money are worried about the fees. Nobody knows how much fees they're paying. And even so, guys, let's say you charge 1% yourself. What's the difference between you charging 1% and the advisor you're replacing charging 1%? What's the huge difference? If you show them a VA is causing all sorts of things, and then you sell them a VA, what's the difference? If you show them that they're currently paying 1%, which is 15% of the return, and then you offer them a 1%, what is the difference, guys? What's the difference between you doing it and the advisor that you're replacing does it? Well, one, I would agree, Tom. One is we're doing all that extra stuff, non-financial stuff, all that stuff we don't get paid for. Absolutely. What else is the difference? Why do people not trust their advisor when we're done? If you do it right, if you do a 21-point checklist, why do they not trust their advisor? Motive. Yes, motive. Absolutely, Dale. And what is the motive, though? What was the... And Steve, I agree with you, too. Half is not an idiom. Yep, absolutely. Guys, did their current advisor disclose to them so that the client understood how much fees they were actually paying? No transparency, Andre. That's right. So the big problem is if they charge 1% and the client doesn't know it, if they charge 1% and the client doesn't know it, and you charge 1%, but you tell them and then you validate why that makes sense, is that a little difference or a big difference? If their guy hides it, but you show them the fee they're paying and have them explain to you why it makes sense, that's a huge difference. See that? Aren't you like that? When you're buying something, you don't care. I mean, you do care. We care about fees. We care about what we charge. We care about commission. But most importantly, we care about what? Being told up front about that. That's what we care about. Because if you find out that your bank is charging you fees that you didn't know about, you find your broker charging fees you didn't know about, what kind of mentality do you have? You're what? Angry with a capital A. If you know it up front, you're like, well, it's part of my buying decision. Do I want to do this? I'm going to shop around. Oh, I guess it's about normal. That's what everybody else is charging. I guess I'll go with them. It's finding out that somebody purposely withheld information from you. That's the problem. So just because, the reason I bring this up is, hey, maybe you charge exactly the same as other advisors. The difference is you disclose it. They don't. The difference is that you have half your money in FIAs and the other advisor does not. The other advisor is using bonds which are not safe, bonds which that can move up and down with the interest rate. So, guys, I'm showing you an opportunity that you need to be taking advantage of. The importance of knowing the audience perspective. So the thing is, we need to try to see things from not our point of view, but our client's point of view. So if clients are even asked, what do you want? And this is a big thing about future clients, getting more clients. If you go back to your current clients, I think that's a great thing. I highly encourage it. I encourage lunch and learns. I encourage focus groups. I encourage client boards to find out what they want. But in this particular call, I'm talking about not what clients want, because those are your current clients. You need to figure out, if you want to grow your business, what do your future clients want? Because here's the problem. If I go back and ask my clients what they want, they're going to give me the answers on why they came on as clients, which is great. I love it. I love it. Because I want to duplicate my best clients. But what that's not allowing me to do is do what? If all I'm doing is duplicating my best clients, what is that not allowing me to do? Find clients who are different. And by different, what am I looking for? If my average client right now has 500,000, what kind of a client am I looking for? If my average client has 500,000 right now, what kind of client am I looking for? One with $1 million, right? If my current client is average is 1 million, what am I looking for? Clients with 2 million. So we have to be thinking not just of what we do need to be thinking what our clients want, but not just that. We also have to be thinking about what our future clients want. Otherwise, we're operating in an echo chamber. Does that make sense? So the Ensemble practice did research, and they asked 1,000 people with incomes above 100,000. They asked 1,000 people with incomes above 100,000. They talked to those who had an advisor. They talked to those who had not worked with an advisor. And they talked to people who had worked with an advisor who fired their advisor. So they talked to everybody, all sorts of people. And the data points to an unbelievable opportunity. Because here's the thing. They asked them, pick three of the 19 characteristics that you would use to choose the ideal advisor. So 100,000 or 1,000 people, all making over 100,000, which we could say, hey, that's a pretty good client. What are they looking for? Well, the difference is female, male, and we find out that's not a huge difference except a few things. So most of them are looking for somebody who's very experienced. Some of them, about 30, 40% are looking for a CFP. They always would say they want great returns. They want a great communicator, highly recommend by family and friends. Now, here's the thing about these things. Very experienced, certified financial planner, has great investment returns, great communicator, highly recommended by family and friends. Here's the thing about what humans really want. Here's the big thing about what humans think they want and what they really want. So, guys, when it comes to, we're in the political season right now. And what does everybody say? They do or do not like negative ads. They do or do not. When they're surveyed, what does every single person say about negative ads, negative political ads? They do not like them. They hate them. So if that's the case, if the vast majority of 90% of people say they hate negative political ads, why do politicians spend not millions, but billions of dollars on negative ads? Why? Because they work. So what people say they want and what they want is two different things. So these are the things they want to move. They want, if they're going to move, they want somebody who's experienced. They want somebody who's a certified financial planner. They want great returns. Some of them want great communicators. Some of them want them to be highly recommended by family and friends. But here's the thing. That's what they would say that want in an advisor. But what by far, what by double, any other reason, what by double, any other reason do people leave? So this is what they're saying they want to have an advisor. But why do people leave their advisor? By over double. Twice as many people leave for this reason than any other reason. What reason? And we're not talking about 5Q people who leave to come to us. We know why they leave, because they end up not trusting their advisor. No, I'm talking about in the industry, when there's been survey after survey from different entities that have asked people, why did you leave your current advisor? This has nothing to do with 5Q. This is broad research done by many, many, many organizations. What is the number one reason people leave their current advisor? Andre's got it. John's got it. Bob's got it. Lack of contact, lack of communication. That's the reason. So look at twice as many people leave because their advisor is not a great communicator. Not because he wasn't experienced, not because he wasn't a CFP, not because they didn't get great returns, not because they weren't highly recommended, it's because they weren't great communicators. But that's why people leave. And can people really tell you're a great, because guys, when advisors first approach clients, how many of them are great communicators? When all of our competition first approached their clients, how great of communicators were they? They were awesome communicators, or that client would not have moved to them. But once, it's the sales mentality, the hunter mentality. Once advisors get clients, what do they tend to do? Maintain that communication, or do they move on to find a new client? Yeah, they move on to find a new client. So people can't really choose an advisor because they're a great communicator, because they feel that when advisors first approach them, all advisors seem like great communicators. They all seem like it. But when they become clients, then they quit being great communicators, and that's why people leave. But here's what we're up against. When we are trying to get a client to move from their current advisor to us, what's the likelihood you're going to be way more experienced than their current advisor, high or low? What's the likelihood you're going to be way more experienced than the current advisor, high or low? The likelihood is what? He's got the exact amount of experience as you have. The likelihood is their current guy has about the same amount of experience as you have. CFP, well, it is what it is, whether you're a CFP or not. If we're going to worry about this, we got problems. But let's talk about, so does the 21-point checklist, could somebody, could an advisor with 5 years experience get a client to move from their current advisor with 30 years experience? If there was a 5Q advisor who followed the system with 5 years experience, could he get a client to move from an advisor with 30 years experience? Of course. So the 5Q system blows, oops, I lost my blowing up there. So let me go back here. Blows that up. It blows it. Does it blow up a certified financial planner? Does it? Could somebody who's not a CFP do a 21-point checklist and blow up a financial plan? Somebody whose advisor was a CFP? Because guys, do CFPs do every single guys? How many of you have moved clients from their CFP to you using the 21-point? Mark says yes. Mark, did the client even care? Did that even come up that the guy was a CFP after you did a 21-point checklist? No, because here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. Do CFPs do the exact same crap that every other competitive advisor do? Has anybody really noticed that a financial plan or a client with a CFP really there? If I showed you two different clients' financials, how many of you would say, "Oh, that one was done by a CFP"? Okay, we black out the name of the person. We black out the name of the person who's the advisor, and we just show you that here's the financials of one client, here's the financials of the other client. One has a CFP as advisor, the other one doesn't. Which one is which? How many of you think that you're going to look at those financials and be able to tell that one is a CFP done by a CFP and one isn't? Yays or nays? Say yes, I could identify it, or I couldn't identify it. Give me a yay, a Y for yes, I could. Mark says he couldn't. Yeah, there's no way. They look exactly the same. So does the 21-point checklist blow up somebody's experience? Yes. Does it blow up somebody's CFP? Yes. Does it blow up great returns? Yes. Because even if they have great returns, but they find out they could have gotten better returns with less risk, better returns with less fees. What do people, and the reason they are not getting better returns with less risk, better returns with less fees, is because the guy withheld information from them. Do they always say, well, but I'm going to stay with the guy, even though he screwed me, even though he's withheld information, even though he's given me more risk for a higher fee, given me lower returns for a higher fee, I think I will stay with him. How many people say that? How many people do you run into that say that? Do they really care about high returns when they think their guy is screwing them? And the one thing about doing the 21-point checklist, aping them, agreeing, parroting, empowering, asking open-ended questions, what kind of communicator does that make you? An unbelievable communicator. And then when we talk about highly recommended by friends and families, guys, go back to the February 26th, I walked through getting good referrals, how to get great referrals. So does the 21-point checklist help you blow up their experience, if their client or if their advisor is very experienced, blow up their advisor if he's a CFP, blow up their advisor if he has great returns? Does it make you into a great communicator? Do we have systems that help you using the 21-point checklist mentality to get referrals? Guys, these are all things we can do if you do what? Follow our systems. Make sense? Follow our systems. Give them a wow experience. So the other thing that we find that people want is, I'm going to go back here. Sort of forgot. If you were hiring a new financial advisor or looking to change your current financial advisor, how would you begin? Ask my friends and family and do research on the internet. Again, we have referral systems and wow systems to make people want to refer people to you. And do we have a system to make sure that if they look up advisors on the internet, that you're right at the top there? Yes, we have that too under low-cost marketing, digital online directory. Make sure that you're at that top when they're searching for financial advisors in your area. Make sense? So here's what they don't care about. Only 8% said that an advisor being independent mattered. So they don't really care if you're independent. So certainly don't spend any time talking about the fact that you're independent. They care even less about being published. So I know a lot of guys are trying to be able to write a book. First of all, you have to write the book. Can you have a book ghostwritten for you? Especially if you're a registered rep or an investment advisor, can you have a book that's been ghostwritten for you? No, you cannot. You're going to get in trouble if you do that. But here's the thing. Why would you even bother? Why would you even bother writing a book if only 5% care about you writing a book? They care even less if you're working with celebrities. They care even less about if you share the same hobbies. And that's why guys, when I talk about building rapport, do you ever hear me talk about building rapport? Do I ever say, hey, you need to build rapport with the client? Have you ever, in fact, I say, if you're trying to build rapport with a client, you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong. R for right, W for wrong. If you're trying to build rapport with a client, are you doing it W wrong or R right? Got a couple of answers. Come on, guys. Doing it right or wrong if you're trying to build rapport? Wrong, exactly. Wrong. Because if you try to build rapport, this is the old style of selling. If you try to build rapport, you try to talk about how you share hobbies, you share interests, etc. Boomers, millennials, Gen X immediately identify you as a what? If you're in the car dealership and they see you wearing a U of M sweatshirt and they say, oh, you went to U of M? So did I, blah, blah, oh, and my son's at the U of M. If you do that, are you thinking, oh, this is a good salesperson, or this is a what? Somebody who's just what? Yeah, shyster. Somebody who's trying to what? Just buddy up to me to sell me something. That's why we never talk about rapport. And I've been talking about this back when I first started coaching in the year 2000, so 23 years ago. Stop doing this. And so many guys would fight me, but no, I'm used to doing this. I like to get to know the client and let them know that I'm on their side. Guys, no, they don't believe you. Do it the way we show you. Don't try to smooze them. And we find out because 95% of people don't care if you've written a book. They don't care if you work with celebrities in your area. They don't care if you share hobbies, etc. with clients. They want what they want. Now, let me ask you a question though. Says they don't care about you being published. They don't care about you being published. And yet I recommend you use my book. I recommend you use my book and my system to get clients. Why? What's the difference between you writing a book and you using my book, which is what now, Missy? Is it still about $4? Or Tricia, it's still about $4 for people to buy it?
Yes, it's actually $4.45, I believe, is what the price is.
And what was my 1099 last year for all the money Amazon shares with me on this? So guys, I don't make, I think it was like $39 or something. I don't make any money on this. Why then am I saying you should, Dale, very good. You should use this book, not your own book, because 95% of people don't care about your book. You should use my book and my system. Why? That's right, Andre. That's right, Dale. third-party endorsement, because you have a letter that says it is rare and wonderful thing to have a group of top advisors working exclusively with people that have retired and who work so hard to improve their clients' lives. Now, do you see here is the desk of Michael Taylor? Why is the author of Get Comfortable, an Essential Guide to Stress-Free Retirement, Michael Taylor? Why is it not Mike Castelneck? If they Google Mike Castelneck, what are they going to find? Mike Castelneck is an expert at what? Mike Castelneck is an expert at teaching advisors on how to get clients to leave their current advisor and move to them. Is that helpful to you? If your clients Google me and find out that I'm an expert at helping you use motivational interviewing for them to discover we're not doing anything wrong here, but I'm an expert at having you learn to ask them open-ended questions so they can discover for themselves that their current advisor is taking advantage of them. Is that going to? No. So that's why we use Michael Taylor, so they can't Google me and find out that I'm teaching you guys how to become better communicators. So it says, it is a rare and wonderful thing to have a group of top advisors working exclusively with people who have retired and who work so hard to improve their clients' lives. I know that when I talk with other advisors, they really appreciate the interaction and camaraderie that is shared by all. It is very important to me why your clients love you the way you do. So this is me writing a letter to you, which you then have framed in your office, or better yet, in your lobby. You will also then make a copy of this, and you have this shoved in front of every book you give away. So it's me saying how much I love you as an advisor. I know when I talk to advisors, they really appreciate the interaction camaraderie that is shared by all. It is very apparent to me why your clients love you the way they do. You put them first. They are your number one priority. In this industry, that is a rarity. Congratulations. You know that in my book, Get Comfortable with the Essential Guide to Free Retirement, I talk about what is wrong with the financial industry. It is very easy to lose faith and think that everyone is out to take advantage of their clients. It is so refreshing to find someone like you, Steve, that really goes the extra yard to do what is right for the client. It's because of people like you that I can continue to try to get the word out there about the shenanigans in the financial industry place in the public. And guys, my whole book is about what? The shenanigans. Basically, that book is a 21-point checklist, right, Dale? That book is a 21-point checklist pointing at all the things that advisors do not tell them. So I'm saying, hey, you are an advisor who does it the right way. I want people to know that there is an alternative, that there are people like you that will put their own concerns aside and always do what is right for the client. I think that you put it right when you said that you do all the things that other advisors forget to do. However, I think that you're being too kind to those other advisors. I don't think the other advisors get to do many of the things you do. I think they choose because not because they make no money doing it or for more nefarious reasons. So are you saying bad things, or am I saying bad things about their current advisor? Are you saying bad things, or am I saying? See, can I say bad things about their advisor? Yeah, because I have no vested interest in it. I just want to say one more time, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oops, that was 3 times, but you deserve it. Steve, thank you for renewing my faith in the industry, in giving your mature and retired clients the attention they deserve. They are the greatest generation. So guys, now we know what percentage of people read that whole entire book when you give it to them. What if they read nothing in that book? What if they read nothing in that book but this letter that you made a copy of and put it in the front? Would that be a good thing or a bad thing? In fact, if they read this letter, what might they do? They read this letter, they're probably going to dive into the book. And in the system, we tell you, here's what you do. You don't worry about them reading the entire book. Just basically highlight or take up one of those, like page markers, and put it at one point of the book so that they'll just read 2. They may not read the whole book, but will people read 1 or 2 pages? Yeah, see, if you do what? Point them to the right page. So in the system here, we show you, okay, here's what you do. You put a marker, a sticky note or whatever, a page, whatever, I forget what page it is, and you can choose whatever page you want, but at this particular page, and and then highlight some things that you know the clients will say, holy crap, my guy is doing that. He is taking advantage of me. Maybe I should read more to this book. Wow, this letter here, maybe this advisor truly is different. This guy, Mike Taylor, whoever the hell he is, I like what he's writing in the book. It seems like he's trying to pull the curtain back on how all the bad things this industry does. And he's actually saying this advisor doesn't do those things. This advisor actually puts the client first. Wow, guys, is that a good? Would you rather write your own book that 95% of people don't care about, or have some Yahoo who wrote a book basically outlining all the tricks that our industry plays on them, and then says, hey, this advisor here, thank you for not being one of those guys who screw their clients. You're one of the good guys. Does that make sense? Attitude towards working with an advisor by age of the consumer. A financial advisor can provide valuable help on an ongoing basis, and I've always wanted to have a relationship with one. People who are, even people who are 75 and over, 57 to 75, 50% of them what? Believe that, and 50% of them don't believe that. But younger people, what percentage of people believe they need a financial advisor? Even what? Even what? Less. I don't think a financial advisor provides much value, and I don't think I'll ever need one. So only 10% of people think that. But if only 10% of people think they don't need a financial advisor, but over 50% of them think that they don't provide any value, do you see how people don't really know what they want? They're saying, well, no, I don't think financial advisors don't provide value, but I don't need them. I don't think they provide much value, but you know what? I don't think they provide value either. Do you see how people don't know what they want? That's why the 21-point checklist works. It helps them solidify. These two things are what? The opposite of each other. These should look diametrically opposed, and they don't. If I had more wealth and investments, I think I'd perhaps hire a financial advisor, but not now. So again, people aren't looking. Some people would, but people aren't looking for financial advisors. It's our job to get. They don't. That's right. They don't know what they know. So, and this is also saying that at least this is not perfect. Only 50% of people think financial advisors provide value, but certainly that's a lot more than the younger folks. So when somebody calls me, and I probably every week I probably get 2 or 3 advisors say, Mike, here's the thing, my clients are wealthy, they're high earners, they're 2-doctor families, or they've inherited $10 million, and they're 40 years old, but I just can't seem to get them interested. What do I tell those people? So they're either 40 years old and they're double, they're between the two of them, they're making $700,000 a year, or they've just inherited $10 million, or whatever it may be, and they're 40 years old. How do I get those people? What do I tell those advisors? Walk away. Guys, do you think I would rather have a retiree with $1 million and $50,000 of income, or 40-year-old that's making $700,000? Which one would I rather have? I'd much rather have the retiree with $1 million. Why? Because $1 million can be moved. That's one thing. But there's another reason too, and which I'll talk about here after we'll talk about the other 40-year-old. Let's say I have a 40-year-old with $10 million, and I have a retiree with $1 million. Which one would I rather have as a prospect? I would much rather have the retiree with $1 million. Why? Because the 40-year-old is concerned about one thing and one thing only. What's the 40-year-old concerned about when it comes to their money? What's the 40-year-old concerned about when it comes to their money? Dale's got it. What's the 40-year-old concerned? That's right. John's got it. Yes. Gains, return, return, return. Can you guarantee them you're going to get a better return than your competitors? No. No. Do we ever talk about the return we're going to get our clients with the 21-point checklist? Do we ever tell them our advisor, our entity is going to give you better returns than your current advisor? No, we never, ever, ever do that because we can't guarantee that. If we could do that, what would be the minimum client size of our clients? If we could tell them that we're going to get a better rate of return than the current advisor or all the other advisors they have choices over, our minimum client size would be what? $100 million. We can't tell them that. So do I want to be constantly, every time I meet with them, talking about returns? No. I love people who are retired because have retired people known people who have gotten sick? Have they known people that have died? Have they known people that have had water in their basement? Have they known people that have had problems with Social Security and Medicare? Do they know that they are mortal when they're 60-year-olds and up as compared to 40-year-olds? Do not think they're mortal. Nothing bad can ever happen to them. So if nothing bad, see, half of the 21-point checklist is about what? There are some bad things that can happen to you. We're going to protect you from those things. And they're like, that's worth it. Especially the wife says, I want this guy's advisor. He cares more than just about the money. But a 40-year-old, do they care if we care more than just about the money? No. It's all about return. So specialize. Only work with retirees. Walk away from everybody else. My income went from 50 grand to $1 million when I quit working with everybody. When I said I'm only working with people who are 60 and up. That's when I started making $1 million. Not when I was making $50,000 a year. Anybody that had money, I was going to work with them. No. Specialize. Make sense? So today we're going to talk about investment weighting. How do we deal with investment weighting? So let me get out of here and go to meeting process, 21-point checklist meeting, training video, and we'll go to investment weighting. And remember, we don't get to investment weighting until we get them to tell us that bonds are what? Guaranteed or volatile? Guaranteed or at risk? They're at risk. And then we go right from there, we go into investment weighting.
Investment weighting is simply a fancy schmancy term for growth versus safety.
Okay.
So is everybody the same?
No.
No.
How many of your clients know what investment weighting means? So anytime I use a term that I know some people will not understand, I always what? Yeah, well, investment weighting that's just a fancy schmancy way of saying how much you have in risk versus how much you have guaranteed. So I make fun of the fact our industry has these highfalutin terms, and before I say, now for you and I, what it actually means is this. I don't know why they use those stupid fancy terms, or I don't know why they just can't call it what it is, but this is what it is. See, do I want to feel superior and them feeling stupid, or do I want to make sure no matter what happens, they're comfortable? I want to make them feel comfortable. So I'm going to make fun of the industry for using fancy words and instead say, let's talk about you and I talk. It's actually just how much you have at risk, how much you have at guaranteed.
Everybody's going to be a little bit what?
They're going to be different.
Yeah, and the way I look at that is have you ever heard of a bell curve?
Mm-hmm.
So I do a bell curve. Everybody's not the same no matter.
And as always, do I go right for the money or do I start talking about real life analogy, a real life metaphor before we get into the money? I talk about a real life metaphor before we talk to the money because everybody understands how life works. But when it comes to money, people kind of freeze up. So we have to get them to agree, okay, if that's the way it works in life, I guess that's the way it would work in money.
No matter what we're talking about. For example, if we're going to run a race with a bunch of 50-year-old men, are they all going to be the same speed?
No.
Is everybody going to finish the finish line at the same time?
No.
Would there be a handful of guys that would be super fast?
Oh, yeah.
And would there be a handful of stragglers that would finish way after everybody else?
Yep.
So where would most people be?
In the middle.
In the middle. Is that the way kind of life works?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The same thing with investment. What they found is some people are wild and crazy, aggressive. They'll take their Social Security.
So here, when I talk about both ends of this bell curve, I say wild and crazy, people who take crazy risks, people who will take their Social Security check and buy pull tabs with it, or buy lottery tickets with it, or people that are stick in the mud conservative who are going to go in the backyard in the middle of the night when nobody's looking and keep their flashlight turned off and they're going to bury their money in the backyard. I make those people sound ridiculous. Why am I making those people sound ridiculous? Because if I make those people sound ridiculous, how many people are going to say they're of either of those ilks? Everybody or nobody? Yeah, zero. So I make those two entities sound idiotic, so nobody will say, that's me, I'm a real wild and crazy guy, or that's me, I'm a stick in the mud guy. I get everybody to say they're what? Somewhere in the middle by making those two ends look ridiculous. Does that make sense?
Your check, go down to the casino, roll the dice on it, and hope to double it. Those are the wild, crazy people. There's also people who stick in the mud conservative that'll take their investments and they'll put it into a saving account making 0% interest. I mean, or 0.1% interest. Are there interest rates out there that low?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll do that. But are most people going to be wild and crazy, stick in the mud conservative? Or most people going to be what?
In the middle.
Now, in the middle, do some people kind of move a little bit to the more aggressive and some people move a little bit to the conservative?
Yeah.
But they're not the wild and crazy or the stick in the mud.
Right.
Yeah. So does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, economists realize that. So they have a thumb rule for the wild and crazy and stick in the mud, or the vast majority of the middle, you think?
The vast majority.
These people can't be helped.
Okay.
But the people in the middle, the reasonable people, they still have a thumb rule, knowing that some people can be a little bit more aggressive, some people more conservative. And it is down here.
Okay.
Aggressive investor, they feel.
So I'm using this easy formula. Do most people understand when you say, you know, when you get older, you're more worried about loss and less worried about inflation the older you get. And when you're younger, you're more worried about inflation and less worried about loss because you have time on your side. Do people get that? And what percentage of people get that when you're 5 years old, you're not worried about loss because you're not going to tap that money for decades to come, but you are worried about inflation because if you bury it in the backyard, it's going to be worth a lot less 20 years from now. And do they also understand that when you're 80, you can't afford a 50% loss, but you're also not as worried about inflation? Do people get that or not get that? Yay or nay? Do people get that? Yay or nay? Yeah, they get that. If I instead whipped out Kitz's, the one that we use for the FI presentation, where Kitz's shows that table with how much you should have in guaranteed versus how much you should have in the market, and it has like 100 different numbers on that, how long would it take for them to, how much would that bog down this meeting? It would be major bog on this meeting, get people confused. So, but either one of them, still, do they people eat with either that one or the explanation of, you know, when you're 5 years old versus when you're 80 years old? They're both making the same point. So I'm going to use the simple one, which is this, the 80 versus 5. Does that make sense?
It would be 120 minus your age, the average age of you and your spouse, and you're 68 years old. So that would be what?
52%.
That's if you're what?
Aggressive.
If you're conservative, they say it'd be 100 minus your age, 68, which means what?
32%.
So they're saying there's still a 20% difference in how much you would have in growth as a more aggressive and growth as a more conservative.
Okay.
So is everybody the same? Or they're saying even if you're in this group here, the reasonable people, you're still going to be a little bit of what?
There's going to be some difference.
And 20% difference is not really as small. It's a good chunk or not a good chunk?
It's a pretty good chunk.
Pretty good chunk. Now, why do they have these rules? Think about it. We said nobody's the same.
Right.
So let's say we have a 10-year-old and we have a 9-year-old. Do they have the same concerns?
No.
No. Is the 10-year-old paying for room, board, anything?
No.
So is he really worried about how much if his money goes down next week or not?
No, he's not paying anything.
Again, I'm not talking about his allowance. I'm talking about a big chunk of money that he inherited. Is he really worried about what's happening with that money tomorrow or next week?
No.
But is he worried about how much college is going to cost 10 years from now, or a car is going to cost 10 years from now?
Should be, yeah.
So is he more worried about the safety of the money or the growth of the money?
He's more worried about the growth.
To keep up with what?
Inflation.
Now, the 9-year-old, are they worried about being able to pay for college 10 years and when they're 100 years old?
No.
Are they worried about anything 10 years down the road?
No.
But are they worried about having the money they need right now with no stress in their life to pay for things in a week or a month?
Yeah, they're worried about that.
So they're more worried about inflation, or are they more worried about safety?
More worried about safety.
They're more worried about safety. Now, you're neither 10 nor 90. You're right dab in the what?
We're in the middle.
Middle. So why are these numbers right dab in the middle?
Because that's where most people are.
That's where you are, and that's what's according to age. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So when we look.
Guys, when you do that, do people get it? Do they understand it? Do I know for sure Jeff gets this at this point? And I always ask this, is Jeff answering any other way except how every client would answer?
Looked at your portfolio, we found out that your percentage was 100% at risk. Now that, until 5 minutes ago, might have confused you because you thought bonds were what? And you do have 40% of your money in bonds. But we found out those bonds were safe or not safe?
They're not safe.
They're not safe. So we're finding out what percent.
Am I saying they're not safe, or who's saying that those bonds are not safe or should not be included in the guaranteed part of the portfolio? Who's saying that, me or them? Yeah, that's right.
Percentage of the portfolio is safe right now?
Really nothing.
None. And where should you be?
Well, somewhere between around 42%.
Yes, somewhere between 42%, right? So, and does that make sense? Because let's say that we wanted to go for broke and have all of our money at risk. So what would you say if I said, we're going to have a coin here, okay, and we're going to flip it?
Okay.
If you call it right, let's say it's heads. If you call it heads, I'm going to give you twice as much of everything. How many cars do you own right now?
2.
Instead of 2, I'm going to give you 4 cars.
Okay.
How many houses do you own right now?
Just the one.
Okay, and instead of 1 house, I'm going to give you 2 houses.
Okay.
When you go out to eat, you're going to get 2 meals instead of 1 meal.
Okay.
Now, that might be okay, but do you really need that?
No.
Is that going to change your lifestyle at all?
No.
Might even add some what?
That'd just be more problems.
But here's the other thing.
Guys, does that very, very quickly have them understand they don't need to make a lot of money right now? That little, hey, do you have how many cars now? 2? Do you want 4? How many houses? 1. Do you want 2? How many houses do you have? 2. Do you want 4? How quickly do they understand that having twice as much is not really going to help them at this point in their life? How long did it take me to do that? And how many people are going to say they want 4 cars, twice as many houses, twice as many meals when they go out to eat? How many people are going to say that? 0. So quickly they realize, well, getting a lot more is not really that big a deal.
It might be okay to do that, but if you flip the coin and you call it wrong, what we're going to do is we're going to cut your lifestyle by 1/3 for the next 10 years. Are you going to take that bet?
No, I'm not.
Why? I wouldn't either.
Well, because
getting more is good.
Yeah,
but what?
I don't want to lose anything that we already have.
Am I saying that making more money is bad there? No, I'm saying it's good. But on the flip side, is it worth that? Making more money, is it worth it if I also may what? And did I say lose all your money? Lose half your money? Or did I say just lose 1/3 of your money? Am I being out to lunch when I say 1/3? Is that totally scaremongering if I say lose 1/3? Could they lose 1/3 in the market? Hell, have people lost half their money in the market? Yes. I'm not even using that. I'm using 1/3.
Oh, yeah. So why do we have a balanced portfolio?
Well, so that we don't have to worry about these wild swings one way or the other.
And right now, do we have a balanced portfolio?
No.
No. So what do you think in these numbers? You more aggressive, in the middle, conservative? Which one?
Okay, does it matter now that he knows he's out of whack? No. Because what could he do with that information? He could go back to his current advisor and say, hey, man, I'm way out of whack here. I need some guaranteed stuff. And what would their advisor do? Okay, let's move it. I can't stop here. Just the fact that he knows he's out of whack is not good enough. What has to happen before I move on? What has to happen before I move on to the next point? They have to say what? Their advisor had a motive for putting all of their money at risk.
One of these numbers would fit you better.
That's right, Bob.
I'd say in the middle.
Middle, so that would be
42%.
We'll put that down here so I can remember that. Now, you did or did not want a balanced portfolio?
No, we do.
You do.
Okay, I point this out every week. Do you see how now I'm going to go, you did or didn't want a balanced portfolio? Fees or no fees, and they're going to see I'm getting the exact opposite of what I want. It's that optical, when you go to the optician, which lens is better, first or second? Which lens is better? Click, click, first or second? Click, click. Which one is better, first or second? Click, click. So you're going to have them compare what they have to what they could have had to make it easy for them to understand I'm getting screwed.
So what do we have right now?
Well, it's pretty overweighted.
It is overweighted, isn't it? So is it balanced or unbalanced?
It's unbalanced.
Unbalanced. And do you want to pay high fees or low fees?
No, we want to pay low fees.
Want to pay low fees, right? So let's see. Why would we end up? Why would we end up where we are right now? We said here just 5.
Do you see how I'm using a multicolored pen here, and I'm clicking saying circling red for bad and green for good, and they always end up with the circles that are green or the circles that are red. They have always the red circles. They want the green circles. They're getting they have the exact opposite of what they want. That's why I use that colored pen. You could use actually 2 different pens if you wanted. so you didn't have to click all the time.
5 minutes ago, that if you were in truly guaranteed things, there'd be how many fees?
Little or none.
No, none. So if this was 40% of your portfolio, and you were in truly safe things that had no fees, how would that affect your advisor?
I make 40% less.
So you want more or less balance,
We want more balance,
more or less fees.
less fees.
So you're paying more for what you truly want, or the opposite of what you truly want?
The opposite of what we want.
And why is that?
Guys, do you see the beauty of the 21-point checklist? He's saying, I'm paying more and I'm getting the exact opposite of what I want. One time or time after time after time, issue after issue after issue. He says, I'm paying more to get the exact opposite of what I want. Do people get angry when they find that out? Could that have just been a mistake? Maybe once, but if they find out issue after issue after issue is that way, I'm paying more to get the exact opposite of what I want, is that an honest mistake from the current advisor's perspective? Maybe one. Can everybody make an honest mistake? Yes. But can they make honest mistake after 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 honest mistake that always ends up in their favor? Is it ever, if every mistake is honest, then part of the times the mistake would what? Be in the client's favor, and part of the mistakes would sometimes be in the advisor's favor. That would be honest. Half the times it ends up, the mistake causes the advisor to have an advantage, and some of the time the mistake gives the client the advantage. But if it always is an honest mistake where the advisor makes out and the client gets screwed, could it possibly be an honest mistake then? If every single time it ends up in the advisor's favor and the clients get the exact opposite of what they want, can it be an honest mistake? No.
That happening?
Well, he's trying to make more money for himself.
Yeah. I mean, are you okay with me reviewing these things with you?
Well, yeah, I mean, we need to see. I mean, we need to know.
Okay. I don't want to overstep.
No.
Because we're just doing we're doing the house inspection right now.
Right.
And we're finding right now that
there's problems.
Yes.
So the reason I've now put 4 items in of having them point the finger at the current advisor, I'll do a little check with them and say, no, I'm sorry, am I okay covering these things? If you want me to stop covering these things, because I can start to sense that they're getting a little irritated, right? And do I want them irritated at me or at the current advisor? So I'll say, hey, I get, is that okay that I'm covering these things? Do you want me to stop covering these things? How many people say they want me to stop covering these things? And then does it kind of stop them in the tracks and say, I see I'm getting irritated. I shouldn't be getting irritated, Mike. I should be getting irritated, Mike Guy. Because do people sometimes attack people that are giving them the bad news? Yes. So this is my way to make sure they're not attacking me. Does that make sense? Coolio. Well, everybody, you have a great rest of the week, and we will talk to you all next Monday. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for sticking on to the call. Bye-bye.